So here I am with these two Rheem water heaters. One is the Performance and the other is the Performance Platinum. And this one is actually about 4 years old. That one is about 7 years old. So what I'm going to be doing is changing the anode rod, which is accessible right there. This is the day after I installed these anode rods in here, and I made a mistake. So watch the rest of this video and I'm going to show you what mistake I made, probably save you some time. First of all, what I'm going to do is turn off the water supply to this one. And I'm also going to be turning off, I'm just going to turn this to the pilot position. And that's what somebody did in another video, so I'm going to follow that. Presumably that will prevent this from turning on. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and drain some water out of this to relieve a little bit of pressure. I've taken an old garden hose. Since I replaced the old hose, I just kept this for this particular purpose. So I'm going to try turning this and see how, I'm assuming that you turn this. I've never done this before. I don't want to just turn this and have water all over the floor, but hang on, I'm going to get a bucket just in case. All right, well, let's try this again. If this starts to leak, hopefully, oh yeah, look at that. It's coming out, okay. So fortunately on these Rheem units, you can get to the anode right there. There's nothing to pull out. So I'm going to put this on here and I'm going to use an impact wrench, which I've got over here. And since this has been put in with, with the exhaust hood right above it, I'm going to try this with, I have a universal joint, so let's try it. I think it's going in reverse. Let's bump up the pressure a little bit. Okay, I'm going to bump it up a little bit more. That was medium. And this one is high. It's moving. There we go. Let's see how this is. Oh yes, okay. Here we go. And can you see that? I would say that's in need of replacement. And that is after 4 years. So here's a comparison of the one I took out and the new one that I'm going to put in. The new one I'm putting in is actually longer. I don't know if it's good to cut this off. This is a 44-inch rod. It would just rest on the bottom. I think I'm just going to put it in. So before I put this in, I'm going to put some Teflon tape around here and I'm going to follow the direction of the thread. So if you're looking down on the top, this would actually be counterclockwise, which makes the most sense to me because when you're screwing this in, you want to be going in this direction. Put this on there. Oops. And I think that should be more than enough. I'm going to feed this in. Since this is in sections like this, it's very easy to put in. 1, 2, 3. Looks like I'm displacing the water down there. I'm going to see if I can drain a little bit more because the water's actually come up to the top. Now we've got some water coming out, so it looks like before I didn't turn it enough. So that's probably enough. So I'm going to tighten this back up and I think that should be enough. Now if we look down there, don't have that problem anymore. Got the rod in there now, it's a little crooked. Let's see if I put this wrench on it, might be able to guide it into the right place. And since I've got this here, I'm going to put this on its very lowest setting, go the other direction of course. So that way I just want to put very minimum. Okay, I I think that should be good enough. Now let's see if I can do this with one hand. I'm taking this off, and okay, a little bit of water's coming out. So this is tight. Looks like everything's good there. Now, since I didn't turn this off, I just turned it to pilot. I'm just going to turn this back to the on position. Now, one important safety thing that I just want to double check is that the pilot light is still on. So everything's good. Then the last step would be to turn on the water again, and we shouldn't have any leaks. Let's just take a look in here. It seemed like there's some leaking there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off again. Turn this back to the pilot position. Drain off a little bit more here just so that we don't get the pressure. So I'm going to turn this again. Now I can feel some water's draining out. So we'll get rid of that. So now I've got the proper tool here, just a regular ratchet, and I can tell that probably because the length of this thread was quite long compared to the one that came out. Now I'm able to put a little bit more force on this without having to go through that universal joint, it's kind of deceptive how much pressure. I did read that you only need like 8 foot-pounds of force. Just a bit concerned because that did leak before, so I think that should be good enough. Turn the water on again, and let's see what happens this time. So I'm just clearing some of the air in the pipe. It seems I made a mistake, and even though this is installed and everything's fine, I should have cut the bottom piece off the anode, because right now it's resting on the bottom, and I don't think that's a good idea. Just looking up some things on the web, it seemed like that's not a good idea. So I'm going to go through the procedure again, put this on pilot, and let's shut this down again. I'm going to cut the bottom piece of the anode rod off. One good thing about this is that I think this will come off just with a regular ratchet, because it's just been installed. Oops, okay, in the big rush, so don't make the mistakes that I'm making. This time I'm not even going to bother putting a hose on here. I'm going to just see if I can let some pressure out. Let's see how this works. Tighten that back up again. All right, so this time taking out this rod is easy. So here are the sections. We've got the first one, the second, here's the third one, and here's the one I'm going to cut off. When that's sitting in there, that means that bottom piece will be resting on the bottom. I guess the bottom of the tank is down here somewhere, and I just get the feeling that it's not a good idea to have this anode rod making contact with the inside of the tank. That's my intuition, and it seemed like some people seem to agree. There's not much on the internet about that, but I'm going to cut this one off. Take this piece off just like that. So I put some more Teflon tape on there just to make it easy to screw back in. It probably doesn't even really need that, but since we have it, and this should go in easy peasy. Of course, I'm just going to make sure that this is tight enough so that we don't get a leak. So I'm going to turn the water back on, and of course just make sure that there's no water leaking pest. Looks good. So now, after I took this out of the water heater that was installed 4 years ago, I'm just wondering what it's going to be like in this one that's been sitting there for 7 years. Now, this is the Performance Platinum, so maybe they give you a better rod in there. I don't know. We'll find out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the same procedure, and I'm going to go to put this to the pilot position, turn off the supply, and let's turn this the right way. Okay. And then I'll be draining a little bit from here. And with this one, this should be a little bit less confusing to drain some water off of this. Tighten that back up for now. This is more easily accessible than the other one. We'll just set this on medium and see how that works. Here we go. Okay, just want to make sure that's going the right way. Okay, I'm going to go up to high. It's moving. Okay, that's it. Okay, well, I just learned something. If you take this plastic part out, you can just actually grab this thing. So let's have a look at this one. So this is 7 years. There's still something left of it, which is surprising. It's breaking apart and it's left some inside. Looks like, oh, here, still coming out some more. So I'm going to try and take it out if I can without dropping it back inside. So that's going to have to stay. Well, it broke off, so it's kind of hard to take this out without letting all this stuff drop into the tank, unfortunately. So again, I'm going to put some Teflon tape, this new rod into here. Okay, now this should help to just get this thing started. So now, because I've got easy access, I can just use the ratchet directly. It's starting to tighten up now, so take it a little bit more, just so it's sealed but not over tight. Let's see how that goes. Just some final thoughts on the two types of anodes that I got for 2 tanks. One of them, the Ozek, looks like this is a stainless steel cable, and this looks like it's a carbon steel cable. And this was, these have both been in tanks for a day, and my concern is that I just wonder how long this carbon steel cable will last. I mean, maybe it will last. Maybe it'll last 3 years, 5 years before it, it just rusts through. This one, I don't think would do that, because this looks, to me, this looks better. If you're going to be connecting these sections together, it looks like it's a better idea to have them connected with a stainless steel rope rather than this, which looks like it may not last. And there's a possibility that if you are diligent and change these every year, that it won't be an issue anyway. You could just probably get the least expensive, and it will do a good job. So those are just my final thoughts. And perhaps I'll be taking these out again in a few years and see what the result is.